Hi YouTube, it's Mr. Dodo8449 here. Today I'm doing part 3, I believe, of my little mini-series on the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. I'm going to start off this episode just by looking very quickly at some of the facts, just to confirm what I said in the first video. I found another web page that looks really useful. I'll stick this address in the description below so you can reread it yourself, and then I'm going to move on and just look through some of the incidents that happened on the line. So as I mentioned, the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway is a combination of Somerset and Dorset Railway, the Midlands Railway, the London, um, the London and South West Railway, and within the Somerset and Dorset Railway there was the Somerset Central Railway, the Dorset Central Railway, the Bristol and Exeter Railway, and the London and South West Railway. So as you can see, there's a lot of companies there joined together. That's why it was called the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. So as I said, it started off the Somerset Central Railway, which then joined with the Bristol and Exeter Railway. At that point, they started to lay broad gauge track with standard gauge track in the middle, so it had a third line, which meant it was mixed freight for GWR locos that were using it. Obviously GWR had the broad gauge loco, which didn't take off at all. Really, it was a brilliant idea. It made more sense in every way, but the rest of the country had already used standard gauge, so it just did not take off properly. But anyway. So these two companies, Somerset Central Railway and the Bristol and Exeter Rail, joined together. Then the Dorset Central Railway tried to join with the newly formed Somerset Central Railway, but they were running the standard gauge and the Somerset Central Railway running the broad gauge. So in the end, they decided to change the broad gauge to standard gauge because it was cheaper doing that than doing it the other way around. Then now the Somerset and Dorset Railway then had to use the London and South West Railway to get the final bit from the end of the line to Bournemouth, to the beach, to the seaside at Bournemouth, which is when the London South West joined in and became the final name of the Somerset and Dorset Railway. Then they basically started to run into financial difficulties. They were struggling to raise enough money just from freights because they spent so much money on building the track that they had no money to keep the maintenance up, to give high quality service and so on. So they were unable to get the passengers using it and coming in properly. So they had to go to the London Midlands Railway, LMS, and ask them for some money. They also went to GWR, Avons and Southern Rail, and in the end, the LMS basically said, yes, we will buy out 50% of your company. They gave them some money, so it became the Joint Railway, so hence Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. As well as this, the SR had a say, and so did the GWR, but not so much. They had a say in the company. So that is kind of how the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway grew, and all the companies it was involved in. And because it was involved in so many different companies, it had so many ideas getting kicked around from everywhere. They came up with just brilliant solutions. For instance, the legendary 7F, 8F were some of the Somerset and Dorset designs. The 9F was based on the Somerset and Dorset design, but that was built by Midlands Railway, then it would have been called BR then, but in the Midlands, that's where they built the 9S, but they were basically designed in the Somerset and Dorset because they needed the power to get up the steep gradients. All those 8 big traction wheels just gave them immense pulling power, like ridiculous pulling power. So that's just confirming some of the history that I mentioned about. Again, I'll put this web address up here so you can read it, you can have a look at it and check it out for yourself. This is quite a good website. Just checking out all the information on it. It's got loads of stuff. So, different page on the same website is about the accidents that happened. As unfortunately was quite common, there were accidents on all of the railways in England. Somerset and Dorset was no different. They had a couple of major accidents. They had quite a few minor ones, but nothing really mentioning. So these are just some of them. I'm going to try and just quickly tell you what happened in each of them. The Radstock one, well, I can't really explain that one. That was a major accident, but I'll come back to that later. So once again, if you know something different to me, please comment and correct what I'm saying. So in 1862, this was very early on when the Somerset Central had just taken over from Bath and Exeter. railway. They basically had an accident where, excuse me, where the gauging on the coaches was too small. It was small by 1 5/8 of an inch, which is about 3 centimeters or so. It was too narrow at 3 centimeters. Because of that, the coach derailed, causing the loco to derail, which damaged platforms, stations. It damaged the line quite badly, and it did destroy a coach or damage the coach. 1874 near Evercreech. This was down to bad maintenance. Basically, they just built a new bit of track between Bath and Bath. Ooh, I can't remember where it goes. It's the Bath. They called it the Bath extension. They just built this new track, and the locomotive going over it started to, as it says, jump up and down. It started to bounce. It derailed and rolled down the embankment. So the line was closed, and then not closed. It was shut, so they could find the problem. I believe the track wasn't set properly. So that was down to bad maintenance. They didn't have the money at this point to maintain properly. So the Radstock incident. Now this is quite a major one. It happened on the 7th of August 1876. 12 people died, and it was the only major accident to a passenger train that ever occurred in the Somerset and Dorset. So that was quite good. They only had one major accident. It was just a shame that unfortunately people did die in it. So I'm going to do a separate video on this one, because as you can see there's a lot of information up there. So I'll come back to it. But basically what happened, I believe, is a passenger train drove straight into the back of a slow-moving freight train at full speed is what happened, I believe. So 1877 near Wincanton. This involved a Midlands 044T or a 4MT. Basically caused it to derail because of the roadbed wasn't laid properly. Those trains were then not allowed to go any further south than Evercreech, and they had 6 engines in emergency was supplied to them to sort of fill in the gap. 1885, they basically had an inspector down that day, and he said to them, you need to sort out the brakes on some of the wagons, and you also need to put interlocking gears into the signal box. When the signalman was working, he didn't realise he pushed the wrong lever, causing the lines to switch, and then a train switched from the up line to the down line, and drove into the back of a standing goods train at about 27 miles per hour. Because the brakes had been fiddled with, he could have stopped if it was standard brake. Because the brakes weren't working properly, he just crashed into it. It wasn't a major incident there. Then 1886, this is a year later in around about the same place. 2 trains collided on the single line, and this was down to the signalman said that the train could go on without orders, that it could go on up the single line. And I think the train had sort of 5 or 6 close calls earlier down the single bit of the line. So that was just down to a head-on collision basically with freight trains. 1989, Bathgood. This was a freight train. I believe it derailed. I think it was a derailed one. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I can't find it. No, it was a runaway train. That was it. It was a runaway train down the hill towards the Bath goods yard. Basically, it was going tender first, pulling a train of 37 wagons and a brake van. Then the train started to run away. The tender derailed, causing the train to derail, which then brought it to a halt before it hit the goods yard. But it did kill the fireman and the guard on the train, and some flying debris from the accident, I think, injured some railway workers. Now this here is quite it's not funny because it's an accident, but it could be written in a comedy book. Now, 1936. Basically what happened is there was this part of the line where narrow gauge locos crossed over yeah, this was narrow gauge locos. They crossed over the line pulling peat. This is a little petrol engine train that pulled sort of 2 or 3 peat-filled wagons at a time, and it crossed over the line. Um, then is what happened is it was a foggy day. They couldn't see what was happening, um, and the little petrol loco broke down on the track. So the driver, or I don't know what you call him, he wouldn't be a fireman on a petrol loco. The other guy ran down the line to try and stop the oncoming Class 3F pulling a passenger, an empty passenger train, I think he was pulling. Because it was foggy, the crew didn't see the guy, and it just drove straight into this little petrol locomotive, causing the loco to derail. Now, because it derailed on peat, and as people know, peat is very watery, very muddy, very sticky. Um, they couldn't get a conventional crane down to lift it out, so they had to cut the loco into pieces weighing about 4 tons each piece, and then bring them back up one by one. So they basically had to dismantle a loco in the mud before they could remove it and take it away. So finally, then 1949, near Ascot, this incident happened. Apology again, I've forgotten this one. I did read through all this before I started the video. He says, this one here involved an 080, I'm not sure what number it was, and an 060, and the loco on the 060 they were basically coming to a head-on collision, and the driver of the 060 realised this and stuck his train in reverse. The 080 had its the 280, its driver and fireman had jumped off because they'd realised what was happening, as did the driver of the 060. Now the drivers of the 280 loco had put it into brake, and they'd left it. They jumped off, so the train was slowly slowing down, and it got to a stage where they were able to jump back onto the train and actually stop it completely. Now the 060, on the other hand, the guy jumped off with the regulator open, which meant that the loco was powered in reverse, so it kept going in reverse. It drove all the way back with its 7 coaches, about 5 miles or something. On the way, it lost all of its 7 coaches on the tight bends and so on, and it was the last coach derailed which caused the loco to derail, which finally stopped it from running. But it went about 5 miles without the driver in because the regulator was left slightly open. So those are the 7 or so accidents that happened on the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. I apologise about this video. I do know that was a lot of me chatting and you not looking at much, but they happen, which is very unfortunate. They are quite dangerous. Obviously, this sort of time period, the 1870s and so on, they hadn't really got health and safety coming in the same way. But finally they did get it sorted out, and the sort of rates of accidents did decrease dramatically. As you can see, after when it hit the 1900s, all of the collisions were caused basically by human error rather than bad maintenance or poorly laid track or anything like that. So it definitely did get better. So that is it for this video. I've got one more video definitely. I'm going to talk about some of the Pines Express. In that video I may go over the Radstock incident as well, because, well, as I said, it's quite a big one. I didn't have time to go through it properly, but just see how long that video is, and then I will probably have one more if I've got lots of mistakes or a few mistakes I need to say, right, the odd date is wrong or something like that. I'm pretty sure most of my facts are correct though. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you found this video interesting, you've learned something new. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button, and you will be able to watch the remaining few videos from this little mini series I'm doing. Thanks for watching.